I can no longer hear the music. Sheesh. Look at that boy rocking out to some Maple music, dude. Gangsta. Gangsta. What songs do you guys love the most about the old school days, man? Drop your favorite down in the comments. We got to get into some crazy stuff today. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Snow Skills, aka the man with snow skills. And boy, I created a whole bunch of stuff that is kind of relevant now. It was banned yesterday. Oh yeah, man, they tried to slash your boy down from talking so passionately on that MapleStory. No, just kidding. I had some issues with recovery. Ended up getting my account terminated, had to do an appeal, and we got restored. Here to talk more about this classic world Maple. I'm going to turn on some of my favorite background music today. And like I said, man, I really hope you guys share your favorites with me from the old school days. Kerning City, Sleepywood, those are my top two. I'd love to hear yours. So, made a whole PowerPoint presentation. Was going to go into great detail on some of this stuff, but you know, I will say that Coppersan, Johawk, there was a few others that made some really cool videos. Shout out to one of these creators named McTweet. He made a MapleStory Acapella that I would recommend you go check out. He killed it. So, you know, just some cool stuff that I'm seeing pop up, you know, since starting to make the MapleStory content and get back involved into things. I'm seeing how passionate people really still are about this game and how badly Nexon really can't f this up. And I would say it lighterly. Lighterly. I can't say it any lighterly than that. Nexon, please do not screw this up. We've heard some really cool things coming into the game. I prayed that they would add an ultra-wide, resolution to the Classic World server, and that has been confirmed. So, you ask, you shall receive. There's been a lot of changes that some people had some speculation on, and like I said, I definitely would recommend you go check out Coppersan's video if you're looking for those skill changes. Some of the things, there've been some light increases, decreases, and I do get into some of those, the more major ones, some of the cooler things that, we've known for a little while here, like Bandit, the Savage Blow, that you got a little bit more mobility when you get to use that sucker, which is sick. Kind of more like, I would say a little bit more, like modernized. There's some more quality of life changes, like kind of in that same type of realm, Bowmen, they don't have that stupid swing anymore where you're hitting mobs in front of them, and that has been taken out of the game for a long time. But to see that being included as a quality of life change in the classic world is actually going to turn out to be kind of cool. Some other things, that same concept, it's going to apply to like Night Lords and Assassins as well. For those who are using claws, it's not going to be as clunky anymore where you have to be a certain amount of distance back. So a lot of those types of general changes, I don't really want to get too much into detail there because that is to be expected. Okay, if anybody has played a game as long as Nexon's been serving this game, which we're about at 20 years, a little bit over 20 years, okay, of this thing freaking been rolling, as smooth as it can, more like the Titanic, right? It's a great party until you hit the rock. And then you gotta hopefully don't sink, which they've been able to keep the water out of the bottom of the boat long enough now, and some other things are coming to light, man. We found out the drop rates have been completely skewed since God knows when, when they started implementing things. So all that money I spent on 2x drop rate coupons and stuff may have been irrelevant, may have not have even worked at all. But that was kind of what I had taken from a lot of the recent updates that I've heard in more of the legal battles, and some of the things that Nexon has come out with and said, holy shit, man, we have to expose this. And in the grand scheme of things, they ended up with some legal issues recently over some more rates, cube rates, all these different types of things keep piling on, and I think that it's a great time for them to get that shit out of the way. Okay, let's be realistic. I don't think that it's a bad thing that this stuff is coming to light unless they are trying to slide it under the rug, which it doesn't really seem like that's what they're trying to do. It seems like they were exposed for some shady stuff back in the day, and now they're trying to correct that before they go and release what could be anticipated as one of the best MMORPGs of 2026 heading for the next couple of years. All right, so I made this slideshow here, some things that we've actually seen. They've had, the signups are over now for the closed beta testing. Okay, if you didn't get in there, that's too bad. You can sit there and wait. Hopefully we all get keys. I think that they've said that they were going to choose about 5,000 people. I don't know if that is included of or, excluded of the people who did make it to the MapleCon LA. But we are still looking for the beta test to be run through April 16th to the 23rd. So that's 6 days away from today, if you're going to be seeing this today, which is April 10th. And that's going to run a full week. Those who did attend MapleCon LA will receive two days early access to be able to go and screw some things up for us. Upon reaching level 10, 15, on the closed beta, you'll receive a medal for the participation. So you'll receive a participation trophy. That's good. What they have confirmed, which I think is always, some of the good things, right? So this is not going to be pure old MapleStory. We know that, right? So even I think that the community is well aware that this is not going to be GMS being released again for the first time. We are expecting a simplified, more accessible, more modernized, but classic that still carries that nostalgic feel. That's going to be, I think, the number one goal of Nexon through this, and to also keep monetization in a way that makes it fair. And again, we'll get into that more at the end of the video, but there hasn't been any confirmations of a cube plan, a gachapon, or any of that type of stuff yet. That is yet to be revealed, and I think that, again, it's on purpose too, because they're still sorting a lot of stuff out internally. So current MapleStory is too modernized. It's content heavy for new players. I've heard a lot of the same, things on Reddit, where anybody who's getting into the game now, even when they go and watch videos of people trying to explain it, there is way too much depth there, and there's a lack of content, lack of detail in order to actually catch up to speed, man. Because not only do you actually have to go through levels 1 through 200, then you get to level 200 in modern MapleStory, and you're like, that's when the game actually kind of starts, and now with the introduction, 6th job and all that stuff, it's like, yeah, I'll just keep pushing that, and that's great and all. But what they tried to do was a really good opportunity with Legion, bringing in like, hey, you need multiple characters, blah, 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 right? The Legion thing, right? You leave the level caps the way that they are. You're not adding all this additional content that's going to confuse future players. You can keep the game back to the roots as it was when people actually started playing this game. Okay, so the pitch is faithful. It's a recreation plus quality of life additions from modernized, global MapleStory. There's some things like Elnath and Ludobrium are prepared to roll out, but the timing is kind of up to them when they feel like doing all of that. Hands has been removed. There has been base critical percentage has been added. All classes have been given, I think it's 5% to start with, and now you can get critical rolls on earrings. You can get critical scrolls, I think. There hasn't been any confirmations of what the new stat tables are going to be for experience rates and damage rates and things of that nature for like mobs, mob drop values, and exact original HP values. We don't know how much of a difference we're going to see from the original game and how it came out, but what we do know is they're going to be Swordman, Magician, Rogue, and Archer to start. There's been also some speculation here about how they say Mage has 3 classes, Warrior has 3 classes, but what about Thief? And what about the Thief and the Bowman, right? So, yep, just a quick PSA reminder, Nexon, whatever you're thinking about doing, don't do it. Don't do that. Okay, thanks. That's all. We can get back to it now. We'll see if they're adding it to kind of balance the game out a little bit here. I don't really think it's necessary. I think that the game had clear chosen routes, and I think that those routes worked really well for how that the game just worked. Kind of want to go back to those videos I saw from coppersan and Johawk. Great videos, guys. Johawk goes into detail on some of the changes on the scrolls and how that system is, how he's opinionated about it, what that means for the game, and how that means, for the economy too, if you're kind of looking at it from, a different perspective, right? We're still relying on scrolls and good items, to carry. It's still going to be the main form of that's going to drive the economy, and gear progression is going to stay a lot like pre-Big Bang, but we're going to just see a few extra stats that are able to be rolled in, which hit or miss, man. Where I had, I think, my heyday of MapleStory, like seriously, early days were obviously the heyday, because what were we all doing? We're making friends, man. We were in the party quests. We were talking to people we didn't know. I mean, I still talk to people that I met on that game to this day. I went out and met them when I was younger, who lived in 3, 4 states down from me, dude. Like, I made friends in the game. We all collaborated because it was kind of like a suffering, right? We shared in some suffering, and we knew how hard that grind was going to be. So we were like, dude, I'm going to hopefully, be a part of this buddy system. And that way, we can kind of spread out how much this sucks. It got funner as you leveled up, but there was a clear path into, there was a clear path into what you were doing, though. You know what I mean? Like, there was excitement to reach the second job. There was excitement to reach the third job. And gosh, when fourth job and all that was out, it was like a whole new world, So, that was something that we all kind of got to experience together. And I really feel like that was the core, aspect of Maple that just kind of made it as fun as it felt when we were kids. So anyway, I am about to get into, kind of how I feel like Nexon's strategy could be to mitigate a lot of the BS that they're going to deal with kind of moving through the launch and the rollout of all the updates and their choices moving forward. But some of the things that have been speculative to be added to the game or likely additions, some would say, we're looking at maybe a party finder being added to the game to where, hey, if you need a buddy to go grind a map, get a certain couple of levels, or even go do a party quest together, that you're going to have a few more options to be able to enable communications, I guess. Interactivity is what they might call it. A guard mechanic has also been seen in recent footage, so we're looking at maybe an upgraded defense layer system or some strategies into mitigations for elemental resistance. So that's also a thing that could be, a little bit more different than what we saw back in 2005. Quest tracking, this is a big one, right? So you're going to have more of a modernized quest tracking than what we saw back in the original launch. So it's going to be more like you're going to see the numbers popping up on the top of the screen. So Forgotten Hollows plus Inkwell's comments point towards a classic fitting content, and it's not just an archive restoration. So I kind of want to get into some of those types of things, like the quest lines, and how I kind of see that the Nexon could pivot to that and kind of utilize that to their advantage. I've already seen some videos, where they've mentioned, hey, we're gonna really try to use this as an opportunity to finish our manga and kind of make the storyline, I guess, a little bit more thorough or in depth. MapleStory is one of those worlds that is literally just so lucid with however you want to go with it. Right, especially those core initial cities and the initial launch of the game, right? To have, Sleepywood in the middle, you had Perion, Elena, Hennessy's, Kerning, and it just felt like no matter how you wanted to go, like it was such an adventure world, such a fantasy world. It had so many options in where the story could come from and where it could go. Always kept that door wide open, and that door starting fresh with a brand new Classic World server actually opens that door for them to think about it further, active feedback from the community. And I also think that as long as they are continuously receiving that active feedback loop from the community, they can't go wrong, right? We'll get into that in a minute here. Let's finish this out. So additional classes in the future, we're looking at probably maybe more of the core. And again, I've already kind of touched on that. Please don't add anything crazy right up front, like Pathfinder or, if you need to add, do not add dual blade. Do not do that stuff right off the rip. You keep those packaged, you get feedback loops on it. And you know what? Hey, you are already launching a Classic World test server. Use it, right? Those who are some of your players who play the most, continuously reopen that to test out how new content flows, and do it on a large scale with continuously rotating beta keys to jump in for active players to go in and see, okay, this is the changes that they've made, this is the new class that they're adding, and test it for a while. Some of the more frustrating things that I remember back in the day were rollbacks, man. Okay, we saw quite a few rollbacks back in those when you were really in there, and delays, patches, unexpected shutdowns of the server and things like that. You do not need to handle that anymore if you just keep a classic test server on the side like you're doing currently, and revolve some new players to be able to walk on there just like as if it was any other world, so you can test out new classes, features, quests, and items. Don't be dumb. This is 2026, okay? This has been going on for a long time, and I think that people need to start noticing what the advantages of Having $1 billion corporation opens up for you. Okay, this costs them basically nothing when your names are attached to crazy freaking titles and you have development rights to a lot of these games. Okay, you have a really good revenue stream, but gaming is dying, and it's because you guys don't listen to what the actual problems are. Just saying. So again, not to go into too much detail here. I know that there's a lot more videos that kind of go in share, a lot more of the skill transitions and things like that. Again, I recommend going and checking out those videos I mentioned earlier. They got some great insight into some of the changes that they're seeing. What I want to kind of just touch base on again is how that there is strategy here in order to not, absolutely butcher this. You have test servers, you have options available to you where you can actually get the feel from how the community is going to react. This isn't your game, Nexon, and if you made it for you, then I'm not going to play. It's that simple. This is a game for the community. It's a game for the people, because if the people never asked for it, you would have never made it, and you would have never made $1 off the concept. And that's the thing that gets skewed in the gaming industry as in its entirety. They don't listen to what the community's actual problems are. And I'm not talking about the people who spend the most on the game. I'm not talking about the people who play the game the most. I'm talking about those average, everyday players who only get a few hours a night to log on and have an escape from reality. And if you're going to release a game and try to say that we're going to hold that nostalgic feel, I'll give you a few tips. Anything that you want to add for monetization, you add it. That's perfectly fine. But add a progression-based system in which you could do it on the side or even congruently to get double the rewards. Make it an achievement-based system. Make it, we don't need daily quests. Okay, we already have daily quests with our party quests that we're going to be doing. We don't need a lot of the torturous stuff that you put us through in order to hook us into the game and log in every day. Because if you make a good game, we're going to log in every day anyway. We did for 20 years, and we watched you drag yourself along the entire way. And the way that you can avoid any backlash at all is say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. How do you guys feel about it? You guys like that idea? Good. We just put it on our test server. We're going to launch it for about a month. There's no rush to launch updates. There's no rush to launch items. There's no rush to get to the end of the freaking road here, okay? We can drag this out. We can ask the community how they feel about it, and we can also test it right before anything kind of gets implemented. And you can test it in various ways, presets, different starting levels to test the different jobs, and scatter it out, man. Swap keys, give it to random players again. They'll go and they'll test it because people are passionate about these things. So I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up. I think Nalo's getting a little bit tired of my crap here. Anyway, but I appreciate you guys all for watching. Make sure you drop a like, drop a sub, or even drop a comment with some stuff that you guys want me to talk about, man. I'll be happy to make a video about it. But thanks again for sticking around, and we'll catch you next time.